Why does a deadline at 9 p.m. hit you the same way a predator in the dark used to hit your ancestors? Stop and think about that for a second. Your palms sweat, your chest tightens, your jaw clenches, your whole system fires up like a 5-alarm emergency, all because of an email, a Slack notification, a calendar alert. Your body does not know the difference between a spreadsheet and a lion. And that, right there, is the crisis no one is talking about. You are walking around with ancient primal wiring built for real danger, real movement, real purpose. And instead of using it, modern life is burning it down, notification by notification, meeting by meeting, scroll by scroll. You are not weak, you are misaligned. And in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to close the gap between the pressure modern life puts on your nervous system and the unshakable, immovable version of yourself that already lives inside you. My name is Dr. Aris Thorne. Welcome to Primal Unleashed, and today we talk about how to stay unbreakable every single day. Before we go anywhere, I want you to hear something, and I want you to hear it clearly. Modern life makes us soft. Primal movement makes us unbreakable. We don't just lift weight, we reclaim our nature. That is the standard we hold here, the Silverback standard. Not the standard of the man who reacts to everything, not the standard of the man who checks his phone before his feet touch the floor, not the standard of the man who's always busy but never actually present. The Silverback standard is the standard of the man who knows exactly who he is, what he's built for, and what he refuses to tolerate in his body, in his mind, and in his life. That is the conversation we are having today. So if you are ready to stop surviving the week and start owning it, stay with me, because what I'm about to lay out will change how you think about stress, strength, and what it means to show up unbreakable in a world designed to exhaust you. The silent epidemic nobody is diagnosing. Let me paint you a picture of what 2026 looks like for the average man. He wakes up, and before he's even processed what day it is, he's already underwater. 47 unread messages, 3 AI-generated reports waiting for his review, a calendar that looks like a Tetris board someone already lost, and that's before 8 a.m. This is not a productivity problem. This is not a time management problem. This is a neurological problem. Here's what's actually happening inside that skull of yours when you operate inside a constant notification cycle. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making, long-range thinking, and emotional regulation, it starts to fatigue, not metaphorically, literally. The more you fragment your attention across 16 different inputs, the weaker your executive function becomes. You become reactive, impulsive. You start operating from your amygdala, your threat detection brain, instead of your reasoning brain. And the cruel irony? The more you react, the more the algorithm rewards you for reacting. Every platform on your phone is engineered to keep you in that low-grade threat state, because a threatened brain is a scrolling brain. Now, here is what I need you to understand, and this is critical. The silverback doesn't react to every rustle in the bush. He surveys, he assesses, he moves with deliberate, concentrated force only when it matters. That composure, that unshakable presence, that is not a personality trait some men are born with and others aren't. That is a trained response, a biological state you can cultivate if you know how. And what's destroying it for most men right now is the hyperconnectivity trap. Think about this. The average professional in 2026 switches tasks every 47 seconds. 47 seconds! Your brain needs 23 minutes of uninterrupted focus to enter deep cognitive work mode. You're never getting there. You're living in permanent shallow water, always buzzing, never diving, never actually arriving at a thought. The result? Decision fatigue that kicks in by noon, irritability that has nothing to do with the people around you, a creeping, nameless anxiety that something is always wrong because your nervous system has been stuck in fight or flight so long it's forgotten what calm feels like. This is the epidemic, not one with a name on a chart, one that lives in your cortisol levels, your posture, your shortened fuse, your inability to be fully present with the people that actually matter to you.
And it is getting worse unless you do something about it. The Silverback shift from reactor to ruler. So here's the question that actually matters. How do you go from high anxiety performer to high stability leader? Because there's a real distinction there. Most men perform, they hit deadlines, they show up, they produce, but they're operating on fumes, on adrenaline, on the fear of what happens if they stop. That is not strength, that is survival with a good LinkedIn profile. The Silverback standard asks a completely different question. It doesn't ask how much you can handle, it asks how grounded can you remain while handling it. Non-reactive strength, that is the real competitive advantage in today's world. And I want to be direct with you about why this matters, practically, not philosophically. When markets are volatile, when AI is reshaping entire industries, when the rules of work and status and identity are all shifting simultaneously, the man who panics loses ground every time. The man who can stay clear, who can think 3 moves ahead while everyone else is white-knuckling the present moment, that man leads. That man wins. Not because he's smarter, because he's steadier. Here's the shift psychologically you need to make. Most of us have been trained by school, by corporate culture, by social media to treat urgency as productivity. If you're stressed, you must be working hard. If your calendar's full, you must be important. If you're exhausted, you must have earned something. That is a lie, and it is a dangerous one. Real performance, the kind that compounds over years, not quarters, comes from regulation, not reaction. It comes from a nervous system that can spike into intensity when needed and recover fully between rounds. Think about it in athletic terms. The best fighters in the world are not tense between exchanges. They're loose. They're reading, breathing, conserving. They fire with full force when the moment arrives, and then they immediately return to stillness. That is what you are training for, not just in the gym, in life. The shift begins with one decision. Stop treating your attention like it's free. Every notification you answer immediately is a withdrawal from your cognitive bank. Every meeting you didn't need to attend, every argument you got pulled into online, every news cycle you doom-scrolled through at midnight, all withdrawals. The Silverback guards his attention the same way he guards his energy, deliberately, strategically, with the full understanding that where his focus goes, his life grows.
The body is the answer. Now let's talk about the body, because this is where most people get it wrong. They think the mind and the body are separate conversations. Meditation for the mind, training for the body, therapy for the stress, protein shakes for the physique. No, they are the same conversation. Your nervous system does not live in your head. It runs through your entire body. And the fastest, most reliable way to reset a stressed, dysregulated nervous system is not a breathing app. It is movement. Specifically, primal movement patterns. Here is what the neuroscience actually shows us. When you perform heavy, compound-loaded movements, carries, pulls, hinges, and presses, you are doing something far beyond burning calories. You are sending a signal directly to your threat detection system that says, I handled this, I am capable, I am safe. That signal, from muscles to brain, is the biological reset button modern life never told you about. In 2026, the biohacking world has finally caught up to what ancient humans figured out by necessity. Eccentric loading, the slow, controlled lowering of heavy weight, activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system. It literally calms you down at a chemical level while simultaneously building structural strength. Weighted carries, farmer's walks, zerker carries, sandbag carries. They train not just your grip and shoulders, they train your posture under pressure. And posture is not vanity. Posture is your body's announcement to the world about the state of your internal sovereignty. A collapsed chest, rounded shoulders, forward head posture. Your body is broadcasting defeat before you say a word. Stand up straight, pull your shoulders back, breathe into your belly. That is not motivational poster content. That is cortisol management. And then there's the hormonal piece, because we cannot ignore this.
Testosterone, your primary driver of confidence, decisiveness, competitive drive, and physical vitality, is in a generational free fall. Average levels have dropped roughly 20% over the last 30 years. Sedentary living, chronic stress, poor sleep, inflammatory diet, it is a perfect storm against the very biology that makes you effective. The antidote is not a prescription. It is not an optimization stack with a $200 price tag. It is heavy resistance training. It is sunlight in the morning. It is sleep you protect with the same ferocity you protect your income. It is food that your body recognizes, not engineered food-like substances that spike your insulin and crash your focus. When your hormones are calibrated, everything changes. Your patience deepens. Your confidence grounds itself in something real. Your presence in a room becomes something people feel before you speak. That is the physical anchor of the Silverback standard. You do not earn it by thinking about it. You earn it by building it. The fortress routine. All right, so we've talked about the mind. We've talked about the body. Now let's talk about your day, because everything falls apart without structure. Here is what I want you to understand about routine. It is not restriction, it is protection. Your routine is the fortress wall that keeps the noise of the world from deciding your priorities before you do. And the most important battle of your day happens in the first 90 minutes after you wake up. Here is the morning reset I want you to consider, not because some influencer told you to, because it is engineered around your biology. First, no phone for the first 30 minutes, not because phones are evil, because when the first input your brain receives every morning is someone else's agenda, someone else's emergency, someone else's highlight reel, you have already given away the most important cognitive real estate you have. The first 30 minutes of waking are when your brain is most impressionable. Fill them intentionally. Second, move before you think. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 if you have it. Cold water on your face or a cold exposure protocol if you've built that practice. The goal is to shift your biology first so your thinking happens from a state of clarity rather than a state of sleep inertia. Third, define the one thing, not 10 things, not a 5-column productivity matrix. The one thing that if you accomplish it today makes the day a win. Write it down, on paper, with a pen. The act of physical writing encodes priority differently than typing. This is not nostalgia, it is neuroscience. Now let's talk about your environment, because this is the variable almost nobody addresses. Your environment is constantly sending signals to your nervous system. Clutter signals chaos. Visual disorder activates low-level threat responses in your brain. A home or workspace that reinforces your identity as a capable, grounded, purposeful man does not happen by accident. It is designed. This means a training space you respect, even if it's a corner of a room. A workspace cleared of everything that isn't relevant to the task in front of you. Lighting that signals focus during work and winding down during recovery. Sounds or deliberate silence that reinforce the state you want to be in. The Silverback does not leave his environment to chance. He builds his territory. The unbreakable standard in the real world. Everything we've talked about today sounds powerful in isolation, but the real test, the only test that matters, is how you perform when life is actively trying to break you. High-stakes negotiation across a table from someone who wants to win at your expense. A relationship conflict where every instinct tells you to explode or shut down. A quarter where nothing is going right, motivation has evaporated, and the gap between where you are and where you want to be feels like a canyon. This is where the Silverback standard stops being a philosophy and becomes a practice. In a negotiation, the man who needs the outcome most loses. The man who can genuinely hold his ground, speak with precision, and tolerate silence without filling it, he dictates the terms. That stillness you've trained is your most powerful negotiating tool. When you are not desperate, you are dangerous. In personal conflict, the ability to feel something fully without being ruled by it is one of the rarest and most respected qualities a man can possess. You are not asking yourself to be cold, you are asking yourself to be measured. There is a universe of difference. And then in the long game, consistency after the motivation is gone. This is where most men fall. They run hard for 30 days, they see results, then life happens and they disappear. Here is what I have seen in the men who stay in the long game. They do not rely on motivation, they rely on identity. They do not say, I need to train today. They say, this is who I am. The behavior follows the identity automatically, not perfectly, not without setbacks, but it follows. And that identity is forged in the small, unglamorous, no one is watching moments. The 5:30 a.m. training session when your bed is warm and your excuses are many. The decision to eat well on the night when everything went wrong. The choice to breathe before you respond.
That is not discipline. That is character. And character, once built, cannot be taken from you. Let me leave you with this. You are not trying to survive modern life. You were built to dominate it. The stress is real, the pressure is real, the noise is real, but none of it is stronger than the primal architecture you carry in every cell of your body. That architecture was forged over hundreds of thousands of years for exactly this, for pressure, for challenge, for the kind of adversity that burns away everything soft and leaves only what is real. Modern life makes us soft. Primal movement makes us unbreakable. We don't just lift weight, we reclaim our nature. That is the standard. That has always been the standard. The only question left is whether you are ready to hold it. If this opened something in you today, if something I said landed where you needed it to land, share this with one man who needs to hear it. Subscribe and drop it in the comments. Tell me where you are in this journey. I read every single one. And if you have not subscribed to Primal Unleashed yet, what are you waiting for? This conversation is just getting started. I will see you in the next one. Stay unbreakable.